Welcome to Practical English Studio, the podcast for professionals looking to master the language of leadership and well-being. I'm your host, Chris. Today, we are diving into Episode 6, Boundaries and Values, Protective Walls of Well-being. I'm thrilled to welcome back our expert guest, Jessica. Welcome, Jessica.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's wonderful to be here to discuss such an important topic.
Absolutely. In our previous episodes, we talked about listening to our body's signals and reclaiming our focus. Today, we're building on that. We're exploring why we lose that focus in the first place. Often, a decline in concentration is linked to a struggle to protect one's boundaries.
That's exactly right. Think of boundaries as the protective walls for our well-being. They are essential not just for our mental health, but for living a meaningful life. Without clear boundaries, we aren't really in control.
Not in control. What do you mean by that?
Well, without boundaries, we often find ourselves acting on habit or based on others' expectations. We go on autopilot. We react to emails at all hours, say yes to every request, and stretch ourselves thin, not because we choose to, but because we haven't built the structure to protect our time and energy.
Being on autopilot is that sense of perpetual busyness without the satisfaction of meaningful accomplishment. So, setting boundaries is the first step to turning off that autopilot. But how do we even start? It feels difficult.
It is difficult, and that's because setting boundaries is almost impossible if we don't know what we are protecting. This is where our values come in. Our values are the compass for our boundaries.
A compass for our boundaries. I like that. So, you're saying we need to understand our personal values before we can effectively set boundaries?
Precisely. Personal values are the foundation for a meaningful life. They represent what is most important to you. It could be creativity, family, security, growth, or community. When you know what you value, you know what needs protecting. Your boundaries then become a conscious act of defending what truly matters.
That makes sense.
But the stress of daily life can easily push us off course. Under pressure, we often act in ways that conflict with our values. For example, if you value family time but constantly work late, there's a disconnect. That disconnect creates tension and dissatisfaction.
So, how does one find their values? It seems like a big question.
It is, but it's a worthwhile process. Working on clarifying your values helps you uncover the goals hidden behind societal or family expectations. It's about asking yourself, what truly matters to me? Not to my boss, not to my parents, but to me.
And this directly relates to our actions at work. That's a powerful distinction. But for someone feeling lost in expectations, where's a practical starting point? How can our listeners begin to uncover what truly matters to them?
The practical starting point is a moment of honest self-reflection. I'd encourage our listeners to ask themselves this: are your actions guided by conscious choices, or do you dare to make decisions that align with your values? Answering this honestly is the first step.
Dare to make decisions. That implies there's a risk.
There can be. It might mean saying no, disappointing someone, or choosing a less conventional path. But recognizing your own agency, your power to choose, is incredibly empowering. It strengthens your belief in the possibility of change and puts you back in the driver's seat of your own life. Once you know your values, your boundaries have a purpose.
Let's bring this into a professional context. Many of our listeners are navigating international workplaces, where cultural norms can make setting boundaries even trickier. It often comes down to feeling safe enough to do so.
That's the perfect transition to the concept of psychological safety. It's a term we hear a lot, but what does it really mean? A work community is psychologically safe when people feel they can ask questions, be uncertain, and even make mistakes without fear of blame or humiliation.
Right. It's the feeling that you won't be punished for speaking up.
Exactly. In a safe interaction, it's okay to be imperfect and still be accepted as a valuable member of the team. This environment is the fertile ground where boundaries can actually be expressed and respected. If you fear backlash for saying no, you're much less likely to do it.
So, for our listeners who are leaders, creating this psychological safety is key. But for those who aren't in leadership positions, how can they navigate this, especially when it comes to the language of saying no?
Clarity is kindness. This is so important for English language learners. Communicating boundaries requires clear, direct language. If you want to say no, you must avoid evasive or soft phrases like, I'll consider it, or let's get back to it, when you have no intention of doing so.
Because that creates false hope and confusion.
Yes, a clear no can sound like, thank you for thinking of me for this project. Unfortunately, I don't have the capacity to take it on right now. It's respectful, direct, and honest. This is about identifying what is important for you to focus on, your priorities, and giving yourself permission to let go of what is not.
This all sounds great in theory, Jessica. But changing habits, especially around people-pleasing or overworking, can feel overwhelming. It's not like you can just flip a switch.
You're absolutely right, Chris. And that brings us to the importance of making conscious choices, one small step at a time. Change doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually through a series of small, intentional actions.
So it's not about suddenly building a huge wall, but maybe starting with a single brick?
What a perfect analogy. The key is to notice even the smallest steps you take toward your main goal. Maybe this week, your conscious choice is simply not checking emails after working hours. That's it. It's not about fixing everything at once. It's about practicing one new behavior that aligns with your values.
That's a great point, Jessica. It makes the whole process feel much more manageable. It seems the foundation of all of this is a deeper awareness, not just of our values, but of our choices and how we spend our time.
Exactly. Every choice we make has an opportunity cost, especially with our time. When you say yes to one thing, you are inherently saying no to something else. Awareness of this helps you evaluate your choices. Is this meeting more important than the focused work I need to do? Is answering emails late at night worth the cost to my rest and well-being?
So, being aware of that opportunity cost makes the choice more deliberate. You're no longer just reacting. You're consciously investing your most valuable resource, your time, in line with your values.
Precisely. And that awareness can be difficult to access when we are constantly rushing, which I believe brings us to our final point.
Yes. As we wrap up, could you summarize the key takeaways for our listeners? How can they begin this journey of building better boundaries?
Of course. First, setting boundaries requires stopping, pausing. You cannot build a boundary while running at full speed. This requires a self-compassionate attitude. Be kind to yourself. This is hard work.
Self-compassion. That's a recurring theme on this podcast.
As it should be. Second, continue to practice listening to your body. As we discussed in a previous episode, your body is key to tracking your emotions and needs. A tight chest, a knot in your stomach, these are signals that a boundary might need to be set.
Right? The body keeps the score.
Finally, use your breath as an anchor. Breathing acts as a bridge. When you feel overwhelmed or afraid to set a boundary, taking a few slow, deep breaths can calm your nervous system. A calm nervous system helps the mind settle, allowing you to access your values and choose your response consciously rather than reactively.
Stop, listen to your body, and breathe. Powerful, practical advice. Thank you, Jessica. This has been incredibly insightful. This might sound like a contradiction, but what we've discussed today proves its wisdom. In a world that demands we go faster, we must consciously strive to slow down. It is in the slowing down that we can connect with our values, make conscious choices, and build the boundaries necessary to live a life that is truly our own. Thank you again, Jessica, and thank you to our listeners for joining us. On our next episode, we'll continue this conversation by looking at a crucial but often ignored topic, the art of recovery from work and stress. Until then, take care.